Hey everybody, welcome to the offering this wonderful week. Thank you so much for joining us. We are indeed delighted to have you join us every week where we try to tackle good stuff to provide some wholesome and holistic ministry for you and your family, for your loved ones, for your friends. Hey, listen man, tell somebody about us. We are delighted to be rendering this ministry. This is J. Corbett Ministries. I'm Jerry Corbett, and we do welcome you to our weekly offering. This show is called The Offering because we offer something that will help you with your life, help you with your struggle, help you with your current situation. And we want it to be real, relatable, and we want it to be relevant information that you get as a result of tuning in to us. Listen, you can follow us on Instagram, you can like us on Facebook, and you can also ring the bell and subscribe on YouTube. Please do that, and we're grateful to have you every time. And again, we try to address 4 key areas. Those of you who've been listening to us the last few weeks, you know that we take a deep dive into your spiritual health, and we take a deep dive into your mental health, your physical health, and your financial health. So in the last 3 weeks, we've addressed 3 of those 4 key areas. And today, we want to address that 4th one, that mental health. We want you to be spiritually healthy. We want you to be mentally healthy. We want you to be spiritually, mentally, physically healthy. We want everything to work out, particularly with your finances, so that you can stay focused, you can live your dreams, and you can achieve your destiny. This is about empowerment of you who view us. We want you to be blessed, all right? We believe that God has called us to such a thing, to be blessed. So today, here we are. We thank God for you. All right, but we're going to jump right in. Listen, we know that during the pandemic, many people suffered from mental stress as a result of this pandemic. And I began to think about it, and I began to look at my own mental health, and I began to look at what I read and what I was seeing around me, and I just wanted to do a little bit of research, and I ran upon this interesting article, and it's done by 2 different entities. One is done by the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation, and I found a wonderful article by a licensed clinical social worker by the name of Amy Morin. And we want to make sure that we do these 2 things, and we'll look at this and try to help you with your mental health, particularly during this time of the pandemic. And I know things are easing up, but now we have this Delta variant, and it's doing a lot of stuff, and there's still cause for some alarm, but we want to help you through this time, help you recover, get back on your feet, get your sure footing back, build that confidence back, and be able to live your dreams. So here we go. The Kaiser Foundation talks about COVID-19 had an impact on people, and it was it was a negative impact. And as a result of COVID-19 and the economic recession or downturn, people were negatively affected. Many people's mental health was strained, and those who were already struggling saw themselves trying to tackle new barriers. And we see a spike in mental health incidences during the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, 1 in every 10 persons dealt with some mental issue. But during the pandemic, there was a spike to 4 in 10 persons. They either felt something like anxiety or they felt some depressive disorder. Now, it's amazing because when people started feeling like that, 36% of people surveyed said due to those anxious moments and that depressive disorder, 36% of people said they had difficulty sleeping. 32% of the people said they had difficulty eating, whether it was eating not enough or eating too much. And then this is alarming because there was a 12% increase in the use of alcohol. So we have to be careful there. Now, 12% also said that they had worsening chronic illnesses or conditions that they were struggling with prior to the pandemic, that these chronic illnesses or disorders increased over the stress brought on by COVID. So we have to be careful. Now, people believe that a lot of this, the poor mental health, had a link between COVID that created the isolation and then that impending doom of job loss or loss of family or something. Now, this is not my information. This is according to the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation. Now, look at this. It was also segmented, this whole idea. People 18 to 24, and this has been in the news, I've seen this in the news, listen at this, 56% of that population between 18 and 24 had an increase in anxiety and depression. 56% of those young adults. Now, some of them were worried about job loss, 53% of that, 56% as a matter of fact. And that's compared to only 22% prior to COVID. Now, it's also impacted children under 18, where there's been a 49% increase in anxiety and depression. And so these numbers are out of the roof. This pandemic has impacted a lot of lives. Now, it's also impacted Black and brown communities. And as you saw in the news, during the whole entire pandemic, we talked about or heard about the impact on the Black and brown communities. As a matter of fact, in the Black community, 48% of African Americans have experienced some form of anxiety or depression. In the Latino community, 46% have experienced some form of anxiety or depression as a result of this pandemic. Now, that's not the only ones that's impacted, because somebody had to take care of all the people who were dealing with the pandemic. And we call them essential workers, those who were hustling, those who had to go during the pandemic, those who had to put themselves on the front line, whether it be a hospital, nursing home, whether it be some health facility, whether it be some job where you're closely connected to other humans who were unvaccinated at the time. Listen at this, 42% of them, with the stress of it all, increased their substance abuse. I mean, alcohol, whether it be drugs or whatever it be. In 42% of them increased substance abuse. Wow, that's alarming. That's a lot. And these people had to go. They had to be there because they were deemed essential. Now, all of that and more are what we have to deal with, the fallout of COVID. It really has impacted our mental wherewithal. Like I said, the isolation, the job loss, the essential workers, the danger of it all, the death, more than 600,000 people, just the depression, the loneliness, the feeling of being in despair. It's just a lot. And so tonight what we want to do is help you. And we want you to understand that the Kaiser Family Foundation would say this, that this has caused a heightened level of stress. And stress can be a silent killer. But what the Kaiser Family Foundation wants you to do is notice the change in your moods. It wants you to notice immediately the change in your sleep habits. Notice immediately in your appetite, whether it changes, whether you're eating whole lot more, a whole lot less, whether you're gaining weight or losing weight. And then the Kaiser Foundation wants you to keep an eye on how you function. How are you functioning each day? So in the other piece I mentioned, when we get there, the sleeping disorder, the eating disorders, the mood changes, or whatever we are experiencing as a result of the stress, Amy Morin, a licensed clinical social worker, wrote a wonderful piece that I want to share with you. And what she tells us are steps. She has five steps in managing your mental health. 5 steps in managing your mental health, particularly during this time. How do we manage our mental health and keep it strong, keep ourselves focused, keep ourselves sharp during times like these when there's so much uncertainty? And these are the 5 things she recommends. Now, I'm going to give you 7 because I recommend 2. So this is what we need to concentrate on. We're going to do 7, 5 from Amy Morin and 2 from Jerry Corbett. So here we are. The first one that she suggests is that when you see the mood change, the stress, the appetite change, the sleeping change, that you are to get physically active. She goes on to say this is a vital component of your mental health. If you're going to keep your mental health good and you're going to keep it established in a certain place, then she suggests that you include regularly physical activity. We just did a spot a week or 2 ago on this whole idea of being physically active. Go back and view that. That 150 minutes of physical activity a week, that 20 to 30 minutes a day, that walking, that starting where you're, that parking further from buildings, whatever. Do that. Just walk. In our first installment on the offer, we talked about doing yoga or some exercise like that. So make sure that you keep yourself physically engaged, physically active. That'll help with the sleeping disorder, that'll help with the stress, that'll help with the eating disorder, it'll help with the appetite, it'll help with those mood swings. You produce endorphins where you begin to feel a sense of euphoria. So you'll produce those. Now, listen at this. Make sure you stay physically active. The second thing that Amy Morin talks about is, this is important. Now, this threw me for a loop, but it's interesting. Schedule a time to worry. We all know that this has impacted us and many are worried about many things. But Amy Morin says schedule that time to worry. Now, what she says is pick 15-minute intervals or 15-minute time frame to sit and to worry. And it says, she goes on to say that during that time that you've designated to worry, that you talk to somebody, you think deeply about what it is you're dealing with, and you journal. You keep a log of the things you're worried about, of hopeful outcomes, or people you talked to, or what your thoughts were, or what your mental state is at that particular time. Track that. And you can go back and see how you're progressing through. That's the reason for journaling. Now, pick a time of worry, 15 minutes to dedicate to worry. Now, whether that be one 15-minute period a day or whether that be 2 or 3. But those are the times that you intentionally worry, if you're worried about anything. Then she goes on to say, and this is even deeper, defer all worrisome thoughts to your designated worrying time. That's interesting. Now, the time that you have designated that you're going to worry, defer those thoughts until that time. Like during the day when you're working, you know you got a worry time coming, so concentrate. During the time you spend with family or friends, or you're doing something else, you're not to worry at that time until you get to your worry time. Defer that worry time until then. All right, then She goes on to say, make sure, thirdly, that you maintain your social connections. Stay connected with family. Stay connected with key and important friends. Who is in your circle of trust? Who is in your circle of strength? Who is in your prayer circle? Who is in the circle that builds you spiritually, that builds you mentally, that builds you physically, that builds you financially? See, you become who you hang around. So make sure you have good social connections, particularly now. Now, make sure you stay connected with people who are positive, all right? People who empower, people who are going somewhere, not people just pulling on your coattails and pulling you down. Gossipers, stay away from them. Negativity, stay away from it. People bringing you crazy stuff, stay away from it. Make sure that you keep your social connection strong. Like I said, family, your pastor, your priest, whoever, good, strong friends in your inner circle that you trust with your life. That may be a few people, but at least you can stay connected socially and get somewhere where you can really do this and be strengthened. That will help you in your mental health. Now, here it is. She goes on to suggest, fourthly, that you keep the big picture in mind. The pandemic is not going to last always. See the end. See yourself post-pandemic. What would you want life to look like? Keep the big picture in mind. When this pandemic is over, I want to be a certain weight. When this pandemic is over, I want to have a certain dream. When this pandemic is over, I want to take a certain trip. When this pandemic is over, I want to hang out with a certain person or people at a certain place doing a certain thing. Make sure that you keep the big picture in mind, that you have some kind of importance, and you make sure that you stay focused on the big picture. What are you going to? Where are you going in life? What do you believe your destiny to be? What do you believe your life work to be? What do you believe your purpose to be? Keep the big picture in mind. Don't lose out all your hope during this pandemic. And then the fifth thing she talks about is be selective in your media consumption. So that's important, that we be selective in our media consumption. What are you watching on TV? What are you watching on the internet? Who are you befriending on Facebook or following on Instagram or liking, somewhere else? How much time are you spending with social media or any kind of media, games, or what are you doing on YouTube, watching videos, or who are you watching, or who are you getting news from, things from, situations that will influence your mind or your thinking? Where are you getting that influence from? So what I want to do is tell you what Amy suggests. She says, make sure you limit your time watching the news. There's so much negativity on the news that is shocking. Everything almost you see on the news has some terrible implication. It has some doomsday situation. It has some situation where it seems like, oh boy, this is it. No, I'm not saying don't watch the news, nor is she, but she says limit your time watching news because it's full of violence and negativity. And then make sure you curtail your social media time. Now, one of the big things that we've discovered about social media during this particular time is that there are tons of conspiracy theories, and you need to sidestep all of those conspiracies. There are so many theories out there, and they can pull your mind from right to left, north, south, east to west. they can have you so mixed up. Your mind can be so convoluted with junk that you can't think clearly. There's so much stuff out there. I mean, there's political propaganda. There's this whole the vaccine will kill you propaganda. There's don't take it, or this or that or the other. There's just so much negativity there that you've got to be careful what you read and ingest mentally on social media. If you want to stay physically healthy and use social media, then you need to follow people who inspire you. You need to follow people with a word of inspiration. You need to follow people who are positive. And you need to consume positive content. You don't want that stuff to infiltrate your mind, make you feel that there's this whole world that's coming to an end notion. Because biblically speaking, the Bible says, so man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you begin to think these negative thoughts, allow them to impact your mental health, guess what? You are going to get only negative results. So you have to be very careful there, all right? You've got to be careful what you let flow into your mind. In the human, there are 3 gates that you have to protect. You have to protect your eye gate, your ear gate, your mouth gate. And you have to make sure you be careful what you allow your eyes to see, what you allow your ears to hear, and your mouth to say. See, why your mouth? Because it's not what goes into a man that hurts him, it's what comes up out of him. Because what a person says is that in his heart. You know, the words of your mouth dictate the issues of your heart. And so we've got to be careful that we don't allow our hearts, our minds, our souls, our spirits to be inundated with negativity, with conspiracy theories, with a whole bunch of fluff that means absolutely nothing. But get around people on social media that influence you positively. Hey, tell others who are going through negativity, look at J. Corbett Ministries. Hey, we really want you to know that you're going somewhere awesome. Now, I suggest these 2 because Amy suggests these 5. She suggests get physically active, schedule a time to worry, maintain social connection, keep the big picture in mind, and be selective about your media connections or consumptions, rather. Then I suggest this. Dream, she said, look at the big picture, and she's asking you to dream. But then I say, dream in high def, dream in high definition, dream in color, dream in real time. What I'm saying is that those dreams you have, that big picture you see, should become real to you. You know how the difference between looking at just a regular 1080 pixel TV and then looking at something that's totally 4K or 5K or high def, it's like night and day difference. Man, it's so crystal clear. In these shots, you can see the grass moving back and forth in the wind. It's absolutely amazing. It's just really high def. Learn to dream, and the dream becomes so real that you can touch it, that you can smell it, that you can taste it, that the dream is influencing your every thought, your every move, your every action. Now, that makes it more real and becoming more of a possibility. You begin to work towards what you see. In other words, that dream becomes what we call a vision. And biblically speaking, without a vision, people perish. See yourself going somewhere and going somewhere good. And then lastly, man, make prayer your foundation. That's the second one I suggest. Make prayer your foundation. I'm telling you, prayer can make a difference in your life. It can calm you down mentally. And when I find myself stressed, my habit now is, slow down, wait a minute. Let's pray. Because when you pray, you get a chance to communicate with the higher power, with God, who calms you, who in a wonderful way begins to minister to your spirit and begins to redirect you. And then at that point, in that redirection, you then can redirect your energy to something that once was negative, worrisome, or stressful, to something pure, something wholesome, something positive, something eternal. And prayer, as they say around the way that I deal, changes things. Prayer is your foundation, prayer is your conversation, your dialogue with the Almighty. Prayer is connecting with the Most High. Prayer is putting you in the presence of the most positive being ever, the Creator, the one who knows you better than anybody. So do that and make prayer a constant. There's so many biblical examples of people who felt anxiety, but then they prayed. Daniel felt anxiety, but then he prayed. Moses felt anxiety, but he stepped aside and he prayed. You see, Paul felt anxiety, he and Silas, as they were arrested in Philippi, but in the middle of the night, they decided to pray and sing praises. And the prisoners heard them, and all of a sudden, there was an earthquake, and the prison doors were unlocked. See, mental health issues lock you in a prison. They bind you. And they try to control the key and keep you from ever getting out of that state. But prayer is the key that unlocks that door that has you bound. So today, take these 5 from Amy Morin and these 2 from me, and they'll look like this. Steps to manage your mental health look like this. Get physical exercise. Become physically active. It's the most important component of your mental health. Schedule a time to worry. Don't worry all day. Pick 15-minute intervals where you worry and defer all worries to your time to worry. Then 3, maintain your social connections, family, friends, pastor, priest, your inner circle, those people who are closest to you. And then keep the big picture in mind. The pandemic is not going to last always. There's going to be a post-pandemic era. And then be selective about what you ingest on your social media, your media consumption. Be careful. And then dream in high definition. Don't forget your destiny. There's wonderful life that you can live out in living color. And then pray. That's your connection to a spiritual being that will direct your path. All right. Hey, that's our time tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again on Sunday for our weekend Sunday morning time of inspiration and motivation. This is Jerry Corbett from J. Corbett Ministries. Tell everybody about us, and I'll see you next time. Until then, I love you, my dear brothers and sisters. Be safe and peace.